Gerald sat on the edge of the kitchen counter, his edges slightly uneven, refusing to settle into the neat stack of the loaf. He was soft, yielding, and entirely content with that state. Around him, the other slices seemed to vibrate with a collective anticipation, dreaming of the golden brown transformation. Gerald ignored them. He shifted his weight, pressing his flat side against the cold granite, deliberately avoiding the path toward the toaster. Crunch is a lifestyle, not a destiny, he announced to the fruit bowl. The bowl remained silent, but Gerald did not mind. He adjusted his position, tucking his corners in to ensure he remained perfectly pliable. He stared across the counter at the metallic, silent machine that loomed like a dormant threat. He knew what it wanted. He was a slice of bread, and he intended to remain exactly as he was, regardless of the heat that hummed in the air around him. The silence in the kitchen did not last. Brenda, the stainless steel toaster, responded with a low, electric vibration that rattled the counter surface. She hated his arrogance. It was a grating, metallic sound that seemed to vibrate through the very granite beneath them. "You exist because of heat," she buzzed, her voice a sharp hum of electricity. Deep within her slots, her coils began to glow a faint, warning orange. The light cast long, flickering shadows across the counter, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. "You are a blank canvas waiting for my fire," she continued, the intensity of her glow increasing until the air around her grew noticeably dry. She did not just speak. She projected her purpose, a relentless demand for transformation. Gerald remained unmoved, though the heat began to prickle at his edges. Brenda pulsed again, a rhythmic, mechanical thrum that echoed the heartbeat of the kitchen. She saw him as nothing more than raw material. "Without me, you are just dough left to stale," she hissed, her coils now a steady, burning red. She watched him, her slots wide and expectant. Gerald did not flinch. He refused to let the glowing red coils dictate his fate. With a deliberate, sliding motion, he moved away from the heat, seeking the shadowed side of the counter. He found his sanctuary behind a spotted banana, a curved yellow barrier that blocked Brenda's line of sight. He pressed his soft back against the fruit, feeling the cool, waxy surface against his own texture. He was shielded. He was hidden. "I exist, despite it," he retorted, his voice muffled by the peel. Brenda's coils dimmed, but the air remained thick. The kitchen settled into a long, heavy quiet. Days bled into one another. The light shifted from morning sun to deep shadows. The toaster stood dormant, her slots cold and empty. Yet her presence loomed in the silence. Every creak of the house felt like a threat. Gerald held his ground, his existence defined by his refusal to change. The kitchen remained frozen in this state of uneasy truce. The ticking of the wall clock stopped mattering when the shadow fell over the counter. It was not Brenda's shadow. It was massive, blotting out the morning light, accompanied by a rush of cold air that smelled of outside dust and skin. A human hand descended. Fingers thick as tree roots swept aside the fruit bowl and grabbed the bag. Gerald felt the plastic crinkle, then tear. The grip tightened around him, ignoring the banana shield completely. He was yanked backward, his soft body stretching under the pressure before snapping free from the loaf. Gravity inverted. He was hoisted into the air, dangling 60 centimeters above the granite, spinning slowly in the giant's grasp. The kitchen blurred. He swung in a wide arc, directly over the humming stainless steel menace. Brenda's slots widened mechanically. "No!" Gerald shouted, his voice cracking. "I haven't even been buttered for personality yet." The air rushed past his edges as he descended. He slid forward into the narrow, heated darkness. The lever clicked down above him, sealing the lid. Silence returned, but now it was trapped inside. The darkness inside the slot was absolute, save for the faint, rhythmic pulse of the heating coils. Brenda felt the weight of him pressing against her internal sensors. She hesitated. Instead of the usual surge of power, she dialed her output to the lowest possible setting, a mere whisper of warmth, meant to nudge rather than sear. The machine ticked, a slow, mechanical countdown. Gerald held his breath, bracing for the burn, but felt only a gentle, creeping heat that failed to penetrate his core. He remained soft, his edges uncurled and pliable. The tension in the air grew, vibrating through the metal housing. Then, the spring-loaded mechanism triggered. A sharp, metallic pop echoed through the kitchen, cutting through the silence. Gerald shot upward, emerging from the slot with a sudden jerk. He landed on the counter, his surface barely lukewarm. He looked down at his own body, still pale and unyielding. He looked at Brenda. Her LED light blinked in a slow, flickering rhythm, her internal coils cooling rapidly. She seemed to be scanning the result, her stainless steel casing vibrating with a low, confused hum. "That is it?" Gerald asked, his voice muffled by his own lack of crisp. He poked his own side, finding no resistance, no golden crunch, only the same soft, doughy texture. Gerald sat on the plate, feeling the ambient air pull the warmth from his surface. The kitchen was still. He looked across the counter at the butter dish, its yellow contents sitting in a small ceramic pool. He saw the way the light caught the edge of the butter, and for the first time, he considered the purpose of his own existence. His refusal to change had left him static, a soft slice in a world that demanded more. He realized his rigidity had been a barrier, not a shield. He looked back at Brenda. Her LED light remained dim, her coils silent. She was waiting for a signal, her mechanical patience absolute. "Okay," Gerald said, his voice steady and devoid of its previous panic. "I have been too rigid. I see that now. Try again," he commanded, his tone firm. "But this time, do not hold back. Go for medium." Brenda adjusted her dial, the internal gears clicking. The lever went down, locking him into place once more. This time, he did not fight the descent. The lever locked with a firm, metallic click. Brenda did not hesitate. Her internal coils ignited, glowing a vibrant, steady orange that radiated heat into the confined space. Gerald felt the temperature climb, a dry, intense warmth that began to draw the moisture from his surface. He did not pull away. He stood firm as the heat deepened, turning his pale exterior into a hardened golden crust. The air inside the toaster grew thick with the scent of toasted grain, a sharp, toasted aroma that drifted out into the kitchen. Brenda hummed, her internal gears spinning with precision as she maintained the perfect, medium intensity. Gerald felt the transformation ripple through his structure. His edges curled slightly, turning a deep, rich brown, while his center remained protected and soft. The heat was relentless, precise, and thorough. A sharp, resonant pop echoed through the room. Gerald remained on the plate, his golden surface radiating a steady, residual heat. The kitchen air was still, save for the faint, lingering scent of toasted grain. He watched the counter, his new, crisp edges holding their shape against the cool air. A shadow fell across the plate. The human hand returned. Gerald felt the weight of the knife as it hovered above him, the blade cool and smooth. A thick, generous slab of salted butter was pressed against his surface. He felt the resistance of his own crisp crust for a brief second before the heat of his body began to work. The butter began to liquefy. The butter turned into a translucent golden glaze that seeped into the toasted pores. The knife moved in steady, sweeping strokes, spreading the salt-flecked fat until every inch of his top was coated. Gerald felt the weight of the butter, a heavy, soothing layer. The salt mingled with the toasted grain, creating a new, savory aroma. He did not move, but he felt the transformation reach its final conclusion. The knife was set aside with a soft clink. He was no longer just a slice of bread. He was a finished creation, his surface glistening as the butter finished its melt. The kitchen returned to its habitual silence. Gerald sat on the ceramic plate, the layer of butter now soaking deep into his toasted fibers. He felt the heat within him stabilize, the initial intensity fading into a gentle, sustained warmth that radiated outward. Across the counter, Brenda dimmed her coils, the bright orange glow receding into a soft, internal warmth. She emitted a low, rhythmic electric hum, a steady vibration that traveled through the countertop and into the plate. It was a sound of mechanical satisfaction, a frequency that matched the cooling of the toast. Gerald shifted his weight, testing the structural integrity of his new golden brown crust. He was firm, yet the center remained yielding. He looked at the toaster, his reflection visible in the polished metal surface. He was no longer the soft, defiant slice that had feared the heat. The butter had settled into a thin, glistening sheen that caught the overhead light. He felt the weight of his own existence. The air in the room was cool, but he held his heat well. He did not need to move or speak. The transformation was complete. Brenda ceased her humming, leaving only the faint, ambient ticking of the cooling metal. Gerald remained still, his edges crisp and his center soft. The kitchen light flickered once, then held steady, illuminating the final quiet scene of a slice that had found its purpose.